I mean, Germany is actually one of our largest governmental partners attending the summit. We expect that they're bringing hundreds of startups, and so really we've seen a tremendous amount of confidence from the Germans there. So the departure of the Vice Chancellor from our lineup is really not an indication of any lack of confidence or the relevance of the event. In fact, I think that Web Summit this year is going to be all about what we've always done best. We have more than 2,600 startups that are going to be in attendance. More than 900 investors were oversubscribed in terms of investor numbers. We had 100 registered just in the last couple days alone. More than 2,000 different media partners. And so what we're really excellent at is bringing people together for these conversations about the future of the industry. And where we're seeing this incredible representation is the future of the industry showing up here in Lisbon.
Yeah, just to take a look at some of the numbers, though, that have really decided to not attend, though. You do have Amazon Web Services, Stripe also pulling out of it. These are major players in this industry, and I can imagine, as you had said in your letter, that one of the things that struck you about Web Summit is that it brought so many people together. It wasn't just about pitching ideas. Do you still see that as still being able to be done despite the major players not being in the room?
I do. We still have a number of major players in the room. I mean, one of the talks that I'm most looking forward to is Melanie Nakagawa, who's the Chief Sustainability Officer for Microsoft, coming to talk about the future of AI and climate. You know, we have these incredible sort of high impact voices. We have the president of Alibaba coming to talk about AI and the future of the online retail environment. I think that there's going to be a tremendous amount of interest in the stage and what's going to be presented. But again, Web Summit has always been, to some extent, about the speakers on the stage, but really about the conversations in the hallway, the conversations at the events that we organize, the dinners, the roundtables, the workshops, the ability for us to really connect people who are just starting their career with the investors that make the industry possible, and then, of course, some of these larger players. So the other piece of it is that the people that we have talked to in terms of our major partners have expressed a tremendous amount of confidence that the business has taken all the right steps to move forward. And I think that we're going to expect a number of those players to come back to the table in the events ahead.
Look, Catherine, we're going to be there, and we're looking forward to some of those conversations. But just one more on the absentees. Of course, Paddy Cosgrove's comments were the catalyst for the pullouts from the aforementioned minister and indeed those major companies that Arabella and you were talking about. But if it was about Paddy Cosgrove's comments and Paddy Cosgrove has gone and Web Summit has distanced itself from those comments, why have you not been able to persuade those companies and those individuals to come back to Web Summit?
Look, I mean, this has all taken place within 2 weeks of the event. I think for a number of the larger companies, for them to return just in terms of the institutional capacity to come back to the stages is a little bit challenging. And so we want to recognize that, and we appreciate that. The focus that we've been having with our partners is on the conversations about what are they looking for the years ahead. How do we continue to be long-term partners? Many of the companies that we're in conversation with have been with us for the better part of a decade, and they've expressed high confidence, as I've said, that we have taken all the right steps in order to move forward. I don't think that we should look at who's on the stage in this exact moment as an indication of confidence in the event. I'm very much looking at the plans that we have for the year ahead and who's going to be on our stages in Qatar, in Rio, in Toronto, and then again, of course, here in Lisbon in a year's time. And I'm feeling extremely confident through those conversations that we're on the right track.
All right, Catherine, let's move on. We've done enough on that one. What about the actual subject matter as well this time around? I don't know if you guys run word bubbles and what people say, but I imagine the acronym AI will be top of those word bubbles going forward as well. Is too much being put in terms of the hope for the development of AI? Because we've had a guest on this morning already who's basically been comparing it to the dot-com bubble burst and indeed to the railways, which, you know, dot-com and railways, we both need both of those, and they both proved with longevity, but they had some enormous hiccups along the way. Are we putting too much faith in one technology?
I just heard a comment earlier about the crypto industry, right? I think that all of these industries go through these moments of tremendous investment and excitement, and then it all sort of shakes out in the wash as we see sort of what emerges that is actually practical and relevant to industry. AI has been around for ages. Let's be real about that. We're just talking about the future of generative AI, and I'm very excited to see where that industry goes. The fact that we have attention to this industry right now and attention to what that means for the future is certainly going to lead to new new distributions of power within the industry, new entrants that are going to come in and are going to disrupt from the bottom. I think it's an exciting moment, but of course it is only one part of what makes the industry as a whole vibrant and dynamic. And that's, the beauty of something like Web Summit, of course, is that we're going to have those conversations on stage. We're going to have the skeptics, the critics. We're going to have people who are talking about whether there is a bubble, whether this is actually the future for our industry, what this means for economic opportunity globally and innovation, and then all of the other important work that's happening in terms of the SaaS companies, in terms of the fintech companies. So this is all just one piece and parcel of the industry as a whole.
I hear you, Catherine. Look, I haven't had the pleasure of coming to it because we've got so excellent colleagues who cover it, Arjun and Karen and what have you, who know far more about technology than I ever will. But I do know a little bit about the math behind some of these events as well, in terms of the technologies. And for everyone that works, there's a vast number of companies and technologies that have to fall by the wayside. Does your summit actually do some decent analysis on the other 9 out of 10 that don't make it as well? There's the so-called power law companies. Yes, 1 or 2 technologies, you've got this exponential growth, and the same with the companies behind it. But do you ever have a bit of soul-searching at Web Summit about which technologies, well, quite frankly, just stummers?
Well, it's interesting you would ask that question. I was asking exactly this last night. I think it's an interesting thing for us to look at going forward is, as we look at our attendees, we know that we have these absolute sort of home run successes that come out of the conference that are on our stages and then use this as a springboard towards their, long-term success. But the thing about the industry is not that a company falls by the wayside and then you never hear from that founder again. A company may come up with an idea. It may need to pivot. It may not make it in this particular cycle, but we often see those same founders come back around as part of another company, another opportunity. So I think that's the real interesting thing about this industry is the resilience of it and the fact that all of those opportunities are simply learning opportunities for what comes next.
Catherine, Europe is in a fight to, of course, maintain its show of dominance in tech as well as AI. Not many, by the way, of listings this side as well of the pond. What would you constitute success when it comes to this summit, especially with it being held in Lisbon for the summit?
Well, I think, in terms of our success in Lisbon, one of the things that we're really committed to with our government partners here is being able to shine a spotlight on the Portuguese tech industry. And I think we've done that very successfully over the years, and in return really benefited from how dynamic and vibrant the industry is and how supportive the government has been. What constitutes a success for us for this particular summit is that our attendees come away feeling as though they've had a great time, feeling that they've had the conversations that they set out to have, feeling as though they saw the opportunities that they were interested in meeting, feeling as though they've been inspired by the conversations on stage and how that's going to set them up over the course of the next year in terms of thinking about the directions of their startup, in terms of thinking about the directions of their work. As I mentioned, we're on track to have 70,000 attendees at the conference. We have oversubscribed all these numbers of startups and investors. We have, I think, fully one third of all of our startups are women-led startups. So for us, that is what is success, is making sure that our attendees feel as though they've had the best experience, and we're really confident that that is about to happen.